Hi, welcome to the Bigger Truth Show. I am Scott McMahon, and um, I'm excited to be here. It's a good Monday, and it's things have changed quite a bit for me in the last 48 hours. Just it's funny how one tweet can change things. But so the I'm going to share just in a minute. If you haven't seen it, there was a video, a 3-minute video that I posted on X that ended up I think it's got over 350,000 views at this point. And I haven't been able to keep up with all of the comments, but um I've had a lot of attention, good and bad, and but really it's all good. Um so I want to talk today about since it's election eve, obviously. And if you have any questions, comments, um, whatever, you're welcome to bring them and be happy to answer questions here. But it's the eve of the election, and so many have worked so hard to get where we are right now. And um, this campaign from Trump, I think, was I can't, in this bit of studying and reading about history that I've done. And it's funny, when I was a kid, I used to collect political campaign buttons. My dad was a rock collector, and we'd go to Quartzsite, Arizona. There's a big rock show there, and and he still goes there and sells rocks there. But he used to give me and my brother each $20 and go and buy something. But you got to start a collection of something. He wanted us to enjoy collecting things. And there's all kinds of stuff there, not just rocks at Quartzsite. It's like this huge open air flea market kind of thing. And so my brother started collecting marbles, and I started collecting political campaign buttons. And I still have a bunch of them. I have most of my buttons that I collected, but in doing that, I learned about the not just presidents, but campaigns, people that lost. And I just kind of collected stories even when I was a kid about politics, and especially presidential campaigns, and why one candidate beat another, and all that kind of stuff. So it's something I've been interested in for a long time. And um I just there I have not seen in my lifetime, I've not seen a campaign like this one, and where it truly is a you know, it really is love versus hate. I mean, you see Kamala Harris out there doing everything she can to incite hatred towards her opponent. And Trump he talks about Kamala, but almost everything that he talks about is positive. He just keeps he is running a truly positive campaign, a truly inclusive campaign. And they don't left doesn't know what to do about it. So if you're one thing that I talk about a lot is psyops. And if you're reading a story and it's discouraging, or if you feel hopeless after reading a story, you're probably on the receiving end of a psyop of some form. And there's a lot of discouraging information out there, and there's a lot behind the curtain that I don't want to see, and that nobody really wants to see, but I think it's valuable to see. And there's a difference between the kind of discouragement that um or disappointment that we experience when we learn something about somebody that makes us think differently about them. um Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily discouragement. When I talk about discouragement, I talk about, the belief that everything's hopeless. The belief that we can't find political remedy within the bounds of the law. Those are very dangerous concepts, and they're lies. And this is we have to understand that there are things that our own government wants us to believe so that we destroy ourselves. And I mean, that sounds so unnerving and so crazy, but it's really true. our government really does want us to destroy ourselves. They hate the freedom that we have. They hate that we don't want to be controlled. They hate that they don't have the power to just do whatever they want and and have us serve them the way that they want to be served. We live in an amazing time because we have access to information that we've never had access to before. 20 years ago, there was very little way that um, somebody as a citizen journalist could find something out, could verify it, and could put it out there, and people could actually find it. And um, we're living in a different time, and it's good. So I I want to use this time to encourage you. So if you have not voted yet, vote. Set aside as much time as possible. Create a block of time in your day tomorrow. I say go early tomorrow and give it as much time as you want. If you have to take a whole day off work if you need to, make sure you vote. If you don't vote, you have no right to complain about what will be done to us if we lose. You have no right to complain at all. And so you've got to vote. Just make sure you vote. Don't let hunger or thirst or some other appointment or something that you need to do or having to pick up the kids or whatever it is. Don't let any of that get in the way and prevent you from voting. Vote. It is so, so important. And I really believe that we're going to win. I feel it in my bones. I really believe that Trump is going to win. Down ballot Republicans are going to win, and we're going to see something of a miracle. I feel it, and this is not prophecy. I don't believe. I reject prophecy. Outside of Scripture, I reject prophecy, but I feel really good about it. I just watched this video by Michelle Shanahan, who was the RFK's running mate and lifelong Democrat donor. And she and others put this together and she just published it. So I'm going to share this video because I think it's moving. I think, just looking at the arc of Trump's political career, I think to me, I find it, it makes me emotional, and maybe it does you too. So let's just
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
The sweet emotion raining all over me. I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
Making that new.
Hang on. That is, I think that's pretty special. So I'm going to talk about the electoral map, because I mean we're going to see this ad nauseum over the next 24 hours plus, but I think it's good to think about. And yeah, Sunny Girl, it really is just, it's great. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this is 270 to win, so you can play with this yourself, 270towin.com. And I'm gonna, so there are the tan ones are the swing states. So this is Pennsylvania, and North Carolina is a swing state. So we've got Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, and Georgia. So North Carolina, of these, North Carolina is the one that I'm like almost certain. It's just, I'm very, very confident in North Carolina. And so that gives Trump 235. Now remember, 270 is to win. Oregon, actually, there was a story you might have seen in Oregon. There are now, in early and absentee voting right now, there are more Republican than Democrat voters by quite a bit. I mean, there are a lot of independents. You don't know exactly how they're going to break, but they're most likely to break Republican. And Oregon has had the Democrats they've destroyed the ecology. They've destroyed so much in Oregon, and there's a chance that Trump could win Oregon. I talked to a friend that runs a Republican party, a county party in Oregon, and he said that Democrat turnout is just, their enthusiasm is in the tank. It is just really bad. And so there's a chance. I mean, that'd be a huge shocker. It's not enough. It's 8 electoral votes. For now, I'm going to leave it blue, but there's a chance with Oregon. Nevada is looking really, there's the no tax on tips thing in particular is something that has really gained a lot of traction in Nevada. But in Nevada, they are way ahead of where they were in 22. It's like 4% ahead of where Trump was in 2020. So that's really good. Now, Pennsylvania is a huge in Pennsylvania. All right, in Pennsylvania, there are in 2020, Trump was down by 1.1 million votes before it started. That didn't reflect until the end, but those were the absentee votes and the early votes. And there was this wall that he had to overcome of 1.1 million votes. He was up at one point as they started counting, because in 2020, they started counting the election day votes first. And so he was up by a lot. He was up by 1 million votes even at one point, up by 800,000. And when Joe Biden came on the stage at 3:00 in the morning, he said, "And by the way, we're going to win Pennsylvania." and yeah, and at that point Trump was up by 600,000 votes, but they still had all of those, that big wall of 1.1 million Democrat votes, mail-in votes that they had to overcome. And right now that number it's about 300,000 is all. And it's extraordinary. And that's an 800,000 vote difference in Trump's favor versus 2020. It's just extraordinary. GL, glad you're here. Said late deciders are voting Harris 60 to 39. So I'm not sure. Share this with everyone via posts and comments. Definitely call 10 friends and make sure they vote. Absolutely. I'm not sure where you're getting that. You're welcome to share your source on that. that late deciders are voting for Harris. I'm not seeing and maybe that is the case, but I definitely agree we need to stop the cult of despair. And that's really why I came out with the video that I did on Saturday. I just saw that they are what Flynn and Raiklen and that whole crew, that whole network have been doing for so long is trying to incite violence and despair and hopelessness, ultimately, which would lead to violence. And um yeah, it's wrong. It's just wrong. We need to we that's not what Trump's doing at all. Trump is running such a positive campaign, and I really just looking at, let me just show you this right here. This is yahoo.com. This is, and I share this because this is where people that might be late deciders might go for their news. That there's a lot of people that think that this is neutral. Clearly it's not, but that Yahoo aggregates news from lots of different sources, uh, and mostly from the mainstream media, almost exclusively from the mainstream media. And you see the top 10 leading news. And number one is the final sprint to election day. And I think that's from NBC. Um, and it says key takeaways from Yahoo: Kamala's spending the Monday in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump has 4 rallies in 3 states, and that's in North Carolina, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and then his final one tonight, and I'm going to be there, and I can't wait, is Grand Rapids. That's going to be his last rally, Trump's last rally. And so, but all the other stories here, all the top 10 stories, there's one, Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live and this final sprint to election day. There's no Trump hatred. You also see this influencer Alex Clark is leading the crunchy conservative brand of MAGA. That's positive for Trump. There's nothing. This is the mainstream media, and to me, that's pretty extraordinary. Go back to electoral map here. So, so if Trump gets North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, which I feel really good about, that's 260. So then he only needs to win one of Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Now he's up in both Arizona and Georgia. He's up about 4% over where he was in 2020. And he lost both of those by far. There's like 10 to 20,000 votes. And so, this is, it's looking really good. It's looking really good. And, dare we hope, there's so many people that I talk to, I don't even want to hope. I don't want my hopes crushed, but, I think it's looking really good. And so I've gotten questions about Michigan and the whole thing with the 165,000 supposed duplicate votes that I talked about last week. And I have looked into that, and there's information that is still being verified. So, and they're having kind of a third party audit the information essentially. But the Secretary of State put out a statement last week saying that the problem has been resolved. And I can say it's not been resolved. The Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, has no business in politics. She has taken her entire tenure. She's been there for 6 years, and the QVF file, the qualifier file, is that is the information that is compared to the tabulator printouts as far as how many people voted, and that's supposed to reconcile. They're supposed to balance with each other. It's not, the expectation is not perfection, but it's supposed to be very close. And I don't expect it to be anywhere near close. And there are many potential causes for that. But I suspect that what we're going to find out, and we probably won't find out for a while, but I suspect that it's going to be pretty ugly. But I also think that the turnout's going to be really good for Trump. So he will win Michigan, and I certainly hope so. And it's no accident that Trump is making his last stop in Michigan, and he is deeply loved here by so many people. And I think, and there's, it runs the gamut, of course. There's a lot of people who are, union people, and they've just voted Democrat all their life, and they just watch MSNBC and CNN, and they just do what they're told. There's a lot of people like that. I've got neighbors like that, but and they're nice people. We get along on everything, but we just can't talk about politics because they're just programmed, and they you just can't talk to them about politics. So as long as you don't talk about politics, everything's good. But um, yeah, it's I think Trump's going to win. I think that he could win all four of these states, and and he could even win Oregon on top of that, and he could even win Virginia. I would say that the states that would be most likely to surprise, because there could be surprises, would be Oregon, Virginia, and New Mexico, possibly Minnesota. Um, but I wouldn't expect that. I think, all Trump needs is Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and then one of Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona. Now, Arizona and Georgia have already said that they're not going to have results for like a week or two after. In Detroit, so I've been challenging the absentee vote center in Detroit, and it's set up extremely differently from 2020. So in 2020, they didn't start counting until election day. They had 100 tables in this giant room, and it was very chaotic, and everything was split up. You couldn't they were using these high-speed scanners, and there were fewer scanners. So I think it was like one scanner per pod. They had everything broken down, so it was just very hard to track and challenge and understand what was going on. And a lot of that confusion is what led to so many affidavits alleging fraud. There was a lot of fraud that was alleged that I think that was not true, as far as fraud that was actually happening in that room. I don't expect there to be any deliberate fraud in Detroit. I do believe that they are counting every single ballot that comes through. I mean, it's very difficult to challenge a ballot, but and the signature verification is supposed to be happening before they even get there. I don't believe that there is any signature verification. And these ballots, these mail-in ballots in Detroit, are almost entirely Democrat. They are historically, the mail-in ballots in particular in Detroit are around 95% Democrat. And so part of that, so maybe some of those, maybe a lot of them are fraudulent. Maybe there are, like what Matt DePerno was talking about with 29 votes for one voter in Detroit. Maybe that is true. But they also run a very sophisticated ground game in Detroit. The way that they do it is wild. They have their operatives, who are paid operatives, with tablets, and on their tablet, they can register somebody to vote. So if there's a new member of the household, they can register them immediately. They show up on the voter roll just right there. So they can register them to vote. They can get them signed up for the permanent absentee voter list, so that they're automatically mailed a ballot. Once they get on the permanent AV list, then they have a ballot chasing operation that is also very sophisticated, where they go to these signed up voters and they get them out. And they know, their system uses AI. It tells them, what top doors to hit that day to get those people to get out the vote. And I've talked to people that are in tech that they think that they actually coordinate with Facebook and stuff like that. So they even know when these people are home. And it's like we're throwing rocks and they're shooting heat-seeking missiles. But that also is limited. So as of Friday, when I was there last, there were 90,000 absentee votes in Detroit. And I'm not sure how many there are now or how many there will be when it's all said and done. I think that there were about 300,000 or so, maybe a little more in 2020, and there may be that many, but we can overcome that. That's just Detroit, and that's just mail-in votes in Detroit. That doesn't count early votes. That doesn't count election day votes. So I do not see, so far there's no EMP attack There's no wide scale terrorist attack. The Chinese haven't invaded like Byrne said that they would. So yeah, I don't see any of those things happening. They haven't happened yet. Praise God. So I think we're gonna have an election, and I think it's gonna go well. And I think that people are largely ignoring Mike Lindell. I think that the Lindell plan and the Jovan Pulitzer plan are not really going to be followed or fruitful in any way, good or bad. And I think we're going to have a big turnout, and people are going to be prepared to wait in line, and they're going to stand and they're going to cast their votes, and it's going to be. I think that it's going to be an amazing thing. So I will be. I won't be able to do a show. I thought about doing a show in the evening, watching stuff come in. I might do a live stream at some point, but um, the I'm going to be challenging in Detroit again, starting at midnight, and I think that you know that is I think it's an important place to be, but I really don't believe that there's gonna be fraud in that room of that can be detected. There may be fraudulent ballots in that room, but I think that their process, they're not gonna be double scanning ballots. The way that they're doing it, they can't. So the way that it's set up is I think this is worth sharing. The way that the Detroit absentee ballot center is set up, there are 50 tables, and at each table there are 4 workers. One person opened the envelope, and these are all mailed in ballots. They all come in envelopes. It's going to be a little different tomorrow. They're going to be counting also and duplicating and counting the overseas ballots. So that's going to be something to watch closely. But what they do and what they've been doing so far with the mail-in ballots, that one person opens the ballots, they check the number on the ballot, and that has to match the number on the envelope. And if those things match up, then the 4th person tabulates the ballot. So, and puts it in a tabulator. And the tabulators are not high-speed tabulators. They're simple, one at a time tabulators. And it's a very slow process. It's a very deliberately slow process. As of Friday, Friday morning, there were over 40,000 ballots counted out of 90,000 that had been received. So it's a slow process. I talked to, I do believe that they're going to be counted before noon on Wednesday, that all of them will be counted by noon on Wednesday. So that's based on just what I've seen. I don't think the Michigan's going to be extended out for much time. There have been, the RNC has had some successful lawsuits to shore up the rules so that we're not going to be seeing these late night ballot drops. There's going to be one ballot drop in Detroit after the polls close of all of the votes from all of the different creeks in Detroit, all the remaining absentee votes. And that should come sometime, they believe, between 10 p.m. and midnight. So there should not be the drama that there was at all there. And part of that is because the clerk is planning on running for a higher office, and she wants to point to this as, look at the great job that I did. And to be honest, I mean, she has done a pretty good job. I mean, it's a pretty tight ship. They're very transparent. Everybody's very friendly. There's not the hostility. Not sure how Uper Dave got kicked out, like I talked about last week. So, Uper Dave, who's a friend of Jovan, and he's a disciple of Jovan Pulitzer, and David Jose, somehow he got kicked out. I'm not sure how he did that. I think he must have wanted to, because I don't know. I have not seen any drama at all there. So I don't think that's where the fraud's going to be. There's going to be fraud, but I think we're going to be too big to rig. I think we can be. And I credit Trump for leaving it all on the field. I don't see, you can always find things to criticize, but I think he has done just an amazing job. So, those are the main things that I wanted to discuss today, is just talking about where I see this going. I really think Trump's going to win. I think that we're going to see, I'm really confident about Georgia and Arizona, and hopefully Trump wins, and it has enough of a lead tomorrow night after the election day votes are counted and the early votes are counted, that I really hope that he's got enough of a lead in Arizona or Georgia to declare victory. And that the lead surpasses the outstanding number of ballots, and that's what they're hoping for. And I think that that could happen. Things are looking pretty good in Arizona. Um, when the people that I've talked to there, it's a there's a lot of enthusiasm, and so far, the early and absentee voting has been very much in Republicans' favor. And of course, you don't know what the independents are going to do. You've got in most states now, it's about a third, a third, a third. He said, you know, there's a third Republicans, third Democrats, third independents. And so you don't always know what the independents are going to do, but I really do think that they're going to break for Trump. Um, so we will see, and maybe what the what I showed with YouTube, maybe that's just some sort of strategy that whatever it is that Kamala says or doesn't turn out well for her. She's just going back to her basement. Maybe that's the case. Trump is definitely not doing that. He's got 4 campaign stops in 3 different states, and he's letting it all out. So, in these last 3 states, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, he wins those plus Nevada, and he's got it. If he wins North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan plus Nevada, it's all over. President Trump is going to be back in office, and I've been asked what will the Flynn Network do if Trump wins, and the good news is that it's really hard to incite all them to commit violence if Trump wins. So that's really great news. And I think that what's likely to happen is they're just going to do what they've done in the past. They're going to do things subtly. There is some infiltration. I do believe that there are some people in the Flynn Network that are working their way in, and may even be in with the that whole organization already. Christina Bobb is one who Christina Bobb she was on OAN. She was, but before that, she's an attorney. Obviously, she was one of Trump's attorneys. But I think she's back with the RNC now. She was a JAG, a military attorney with Flynn and McChrystal in Afghanistan. So, there's there's some more connections, even among her past alleged romantic relationships that show that there's connections, not necessarily directly with the Flynn family, but with that network and with the ASOG group, the Allied Special Operations Group, which was Flynn's kind of cyber experts or so-called cyber experts, all with military ties, most with military ties, with the exception of Conan Hayes, who was a surfer. There's so much of it that doesn't make sense. But so they'll try to influence. They will try to you know, I think that they will continue to run narratives that are designed at undercutting Trump in various ways and causing people to doubt him. I think they're going to definitely continue with their operations within state Republican parties, trying to take over parties to weaken the Republican Party so that after Trump, that the parties will be divided. And that's going to be a huge part of my ongoing mission, is to help inoculate state parties from that and identify that. We've had so much success here in Michigan. I want to help continue with that in other states. So, that'll certainly be a part of it. And then Flynn's operations in churches is, I think it just appears to me that this is their next thing that they're really focused on. Citizens Defending Freedom. He's been grifting really hard for that, raising money for Citizens Defending Freedom. And it appears to be very well funded to begin with. They have an organization within that called the Remnant Alliance. The Remnant Alliance is all about getting into churches and they offer 3 services to churches. The first is, and this is according to their own website, the first is human intelligence resources that they embed into churches in order to spy on the local community and the church itself. It is that bad. It is that disgusting. They embed human intelligence sources into churches. The next is professional media services. So this is propaganda. So they work with local churches to produce propaganda to support their political engagement and their efforts at taking over local parties. So this is really this is going to be a force to contend with. And then the third is they say legal support. This is lawfare. They want to engage in lawfare on the local level. And ultimately, this is against the Republican Party and this is against the church. This is using these churches. And Trump spoke one event, 500 spoke to 500 pastors at one event that with Remnant Alliance. They're bringing in pastors, priests, from different denominations. This is Christians, Catholics. This is like one world religion kind of stuff, all coming together and becoming political organizations, and under the guise of they think that they're saving the country and saving babies from abortion and stuff like that. And it's not what's going to happen. It's going to lead people away distract from the gospel and the true mission of the church, and make them into political organizations. And the fruit already in every, this is like Dream City Church in Arizona is the center for these disruptors that are so angry and so hateful. And yeah, so it's ugly. And that's what they want to replicate. Dream City Church is a model for that, for what they want to do with citizens defending freedom. So I'm going to be continuing to work on that and on many other things. I've got some interesting things on the pike, even just today, some things that are coming up. And so I look forward to sharing more with you, and we will see what happens. I won't be doing anything. I might do something kind of impromptu, but I'm not going to do a show tomorrow. My next show is going to be on Wednesday. I do the show Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so on Wednesday, I will be doing a show, and that should be very interesting. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. And then again on Thursday. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to hit me up on Twitter or X, and go to my Substack. It's biggertruthmedia.com. That's biggertruthmedia.com. And I post everything that I do of consequence there. So thank you all for joining. And until Wednesday, remember, vote. If you haven't voted, vote. And GL said, call 10 friends. Call them today. Call friends today. People that you don't know whether or not they voted, and ask them if they're going to vote. Ask them if you can give them a ride, and you can bring them meals. You could bring waters to people that are standing in line. Do what you can to help. Just do what you can to help. So discourage people from electioneering and doing that. Just go vote. You don't need to make a political statement as you're voting. I saw people say they're going to wear garbage bags when I think that's hilarious, but it's also inviting. It's inviting attention that you may not want. So, and maybe you think it's fun, but the most important thing is to vote and to not disrupt the polling place, to not get in other people's way as they're voting as well. So, this is a very special responsibility and opportunity and privilege that we have to have a voice. And there's always going to be fraud, but we can overcome it. And I think we will. I really think we will. We've got a great leader in President Trump, and I think we're going to do it. So until next